You told us today that after practice you were a little bit nervous going in just because you hadn't played in a while. Was there a moment you kind of got over that, said, all right, I'm good, I'm back to where I was before I got hurt? And I think you hit that one step back three that sort of bring sort of some comfort in some ways, the sort of part we saw.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like when I touched the basketball to start warming up before the practice even started, that's probably when I felt pretty comfortable. But I mean,
Watch her face closely right there. That isn't just nerves about stepping back onto the court. It's 6 months of isolation, frustration, and doubt finally surfacing. Caitlin Clark just confessed something most superstars never say out loud. She had to prove it to herself all over again. After a 7-year run without missing a single game, the ankle injury that ended her 2024 WNBA season didn't just sideline her physically. It cracked her mentally. And what unfolded at this USA basketball camp in Cleveland shows just how deep that crack really was.
Caitlin, you previously said that there was no disappointment when you weren't selected for the 2024 Paris Olympics because it gave you something to work toward. Reflecting back on the past year and a half, and making your first senior camp, what does this moment mean for you, and why is this the right time for you?
yeah, I mean, I think anytime you can do a USA basketball related camp, or obviously in my past, it's been all junior national teams. And, I've been cut from some of those and I've played for 3 of them. So I think I've experienced both sides of it. And, this is the biggest honor you can possibly have, and playing basketball in our country is wearing USA across your chest. So, I'm just excited to be here and honored. Obviously, it's kind of like the start to the new Olympic cycle, and quite a few.
February 2025, USA Basketball's Senior National Team Camp. This is Caitlin's first appearance since the Olympic snub that dominated headlines last summer. Remember the narrative back then? She needs more experience. The team chemistry is already set. She'll get her chance. All those polished explanations that didn't quite add up once you looked at her rookie numbers. 19.2 points per game. Rookie of the Year. Single-handedly shifting WNBA television ratings. But here's what no one saw coming. Between that Olympic disappointment in July and this camp in February, Caitlin Clark all but disappeared, not by choice. The ankle injury she suffered in late 2024 became what she calls a compounding nightmare. One injury led to another. Then the ankle worsened, and suddenly the player, who hadn't missed a game since high school, was stuck on the sidelines, unable to help her team make a playoff push.
I think for sure. And I put together a pretty incredible stretch of never missing a game. And, the fact is, when you're a professional athlete, it's going to come at some point. That's just how it goes. I think it's honestly taught me more than I've probably ever learned through the course of my career of, how to take care of your body, how to get right, how to stay healthy, and then just taking time for yourself. Like, obviously being hurt is an incredibly isolating thing, and you don't really understand it until you go through it. And then I think the challenge for myself was just, it was one injury, and then it was like a little better, and then it kind of continued to compound and get worse, and, other things pop up. And then I had the ankle injury. So it feels nice to finally be back to 100%. And in a way, at the end of the WNBA season, like, obviously I did everything I could to try to be able to come back.
That phrase right there, asterisk, incredibly isolating. Asterisk, that's not throwaway language. Professional athletes are trained to never show weakness, to never admit vulnerability. The fact that she says it out loud tells you just how dark those months really were. And pay attention to what she says next. Asterisk, it took longer than expected. Asterisk translation, this wasn't a clean recovery. This was grinding through rehab every single day, watching your team struggle without you, while carrying the mental weight of wondering if your body would ever feel the same again. The timeline matters here. Her injury issues began in late September 2024. The Indiana Fever season ended in October. That left Caitlin roughly 4 months to get back to 100% before this USA basketball camp. 4 months of daily rehab. 4 months of working with trainers who, as she points out, didn't take a break either because they were invested in her success. 4 months of questioning whether that step back three would ever feel natural again.
Obviously, this camp has a lot of younger players. What can you say just about all of you being able to come together and kind of signify this start of this new Olympic cycle, with all of you being together and being so familiar with each other?
Yeah, and I think a lot of us have familiarity, whether we were playing on junior national teams together or whether we played versus each other in college or, obviously playing now versus each other in WNBA, or some of us obviously are teammates as well. So, we know each other pretty well. I think it obviously speaks to the way USA basketball does such a great job at the junior national team levels of really getting you kind of involved in the program and understanding what USA basketball is about. You understand how big of an honor it is to be able to do this. And if you're lucky enough to do it, just once, that's incredibly cool to represent your country. So I think for us, like being able to have that and then come into this national team camp together, it just is a thing of comfort, but also like we're all very competitive and you want to be surrounded by the best at the same time. And I think that's kind of the feeling all around for all of us.
Now this is fascinating. She's talking about familiarity with these younger players on the USA roster, playing together on junior national teams, facing each other in college, competing against each other in the WNBA. But listen to what she's really saying between the lines. This camp represents a generational shift. The old guard, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Sylvia Fowles, they're gone or on their way out. This is the new era, and USA basketball is essentially saying, Caitlin, you're part of the foundation we're building toward 2028. That's a massive statement, because remember, just 8 months ago, she wasn't considered good enough for the Paris Olympics team. Now she's being positioned as a cornerstone of the next Olympic cycle. What changed? Her rookie season happened. The ratings explosion happened. The sold-out arenas happened. The proof that she's not just a college phenomenon, but a legitimate professional star. All of that happened. And USA basketball watched it happen, while their Olympic team struggled to generate the same level of excitement.
I mean, I plan to play in the WNBA. Obviously, that's another thing that we need to get done, so we have a season coming up here. But I think more than anything, it showcases what people think of women's basketball. All of these different opportunities, all these different leagues, the platform that they want to give women's basketball, where they think women's basketball is going to continue to grow. I think that's probably the thing that pops into my mind is just that of like people are really believing and putting their money where their mouth is. And that hasn't always been the case for women's basketball, no matter how great it's been over the course of, the last 25, 30 years. And so I think for myself, like that's probably what I'm most proud of is just how, excited and people are to really invest and want to support women's basketball.
Right there. That's the money quote. Asterisk, people are really believing and putting their money where their mouth is. Asterisk, she's talking about Unrivaled, the new 3-on-3 league, trying to compete with the WNBA. But she's also pointing to something much bigger, the fundamental shift happening in women's basketball right now. For decades, people said they supported women's sports. They said the right things. They praised the athletes. But the investment, the real financial commitment, never showed up at scale until now. Unrivaled is backed by serious money. The WNBA just locked in a new media rights deal worth $2.2 billion over 11 years, a massive jump from the previous $60 million per year. Expansion teams are selling for $50 million apiece, and suddenly Caitlin Clark is at the center of a bidding war for her attention. Unrivaled reportedly offered her more than $1 million for a short season. The WNBA wants her fully in their league. USA Basketball wants her available for international competition. This is unprecedented leverage for a WNBA player. And notice how carefully she handles the question. She doesn't commit to Unrivaled. She doesn't reject it either. She simply says she plans to play in the WNBA and leaves everything else open. That's the move of someone who understands her value and isn't about to limit her options.
Coach Kara is, obviously she knows just as good as anybody else what USA basketball is all about, winning a gold medal. And then additionally, like she's been a part of a lot of different Olympic teams, whether it's 3-on-3 stuff, whether it's obviously an assistant coach at the last gold medal. But I think it's just the energy she brings. And I think that impacts every single person in the gym. And I think that's a really powerful thing as a coach. So I think that was, this is really my first time around Coach Kara as well. Like I don't have a prior relationship with her. So obviously it's been good to get to know her over the course of this first few days. But I think for myself, it's just the energy and the competitive spirit that she brings as a coach. I think that's really impacts players and what they want to bring on the court as well.
Coach Cheryl Reeve, that name carries weight. 3 WNBA championships with the Minnesota Lynx, assistant coach for Team USA at the Paris Olympics, and now she's stepping in as head coach of the national team. Caitlin talks about Reeves' energy and competitive spirit, but there's a deeper subtext worth paying attention to. Reeve was part of the coaching staff that left Caitlin off the Olympic roster last summer. She was in those meetings. She was part of that decision. So what does it mean that Reeve is now leading the program Caitlin is stepping into? Is this a clean slate? Is it Reeve's way of correcting what many viewed as a mistake, or simply the natural evolution of the program? Caitlin's Olympic snub is old history now. The answer probably matters less than the optics, because from the outside, it looks like USA Basketball is making sure they don't miss the Caitlin Clark era twice.
Well, first of all, obviously it's great to see Cam. Last time I played USA Basketball, I'm pretty sure she was on the team, or maybe that was 2 times ago, but she was actually my roommate one of the times that I played USA Basketball. So I've known her for quite some time now, and then obviously throughout college continued to build our relationship, and then even now professionally. So it's always good to see people that you've known for 5+ years and even longer now. I mean, it was the U16 team was the first team I ever played on, and I think I was 15. So it's been almost 9 years now, which is pretty incredible, the course of this journey. And then golfing wise, I'm not really quite sure who's all big into golfing in the WNBA. So I don't know, maybe I'd love to get out there and play with some different players, but I put the golf clubs away now. I'm truly focused on basketball. It makes my body a little bit sore. So I'd rather just stick to basketball, but I love it. And it's always great to be outside. And obviously the weather is not too hot in Indianapolis or Iowa at the moment for me to be golfing at all. So that helps.
Cameron Brink, that's a roommate at this camp. And that detail isn't insignificant. Brink and Clark go back 9 years to the U16 national team. They've moved through the USA Basketball system together. They know what it takes to represent the country at the highest level, and now they're both pros, trying to carve out their place in the national team hierarchy. But here's what makes this reunion especially compelling. Cameron Brink tore her ACL in June 2024, ending her rookie WNBA season. So you have 2 of the most hyped rookies from the 2024 draft class, both dealing with major injuries, both grinding through recovery, both arriving at this camp needing to prove their bodies are ready. That shared experience creates a real bond. They understand what the other went through in a way healthy players simply can't. And then there's the golf comment. She's putting the clubs away, locking in purely on basketball, making sure her body doesn't get sore from anything that isn't directly helping her game. That's the mindset of someone who learned a hard lesson about taking care of herself. Someone who isn't willing to risk anything that could compromise her availability ever again.
Worked so hard. I haven't taken a break since, honestly, since the beginning of the WNBA season, with just all my rehab and getting back to where I wanted to be, and then getting even better. So that's been kind of my focus. And, this has kind of been my next thing that I've been working for since our season ended, and just really thankful for the training staff and player development and everybody that has kind of been there with me. They haven't taken a break either, because they invest a lot of time and they want me to be successful. So I think for myself, it's not proving it to yourself again, but it's just that feeling. And I think it just made me smile quite a bit. I really did kind of feel like myself out there and just continuing to get my lungs back. But I felt like I was moving really well. So it was pretty satisfying.
Thanks.
Here's what makes this whole situation so compelling. Caitlin Clark spent 7 years, without missing a single game. High school, college, that unprecedented streak of availability made her one of the most reliable players in basketball at any level. Then she reaches the WNBA, plays through a grueling rookie season under pressure unlike anything she'd experienced, and her body finally says enough. The ankle injury wasn't just bad luck. It was the culmination of years of wear and tear catching up. What she learned during those months of rehab, how to take care of her body, how to stay healthy, how to be a better teammate even when she couldn't play, may end up being more valuable than anything she could have learned on the court. Consider the mental fortitude it takes to go from being the most dominant player in college basketball to an Olympic snub, to an injured rookie watching her team struggle without her, to this moment at USA Basketball camp, smiling again because she finally feels like herself. That's not just physical recovery. That's psychological resilience. And it's exactly what you need to survive at the highest levels of professional basketball. This USA Basketball camp marks a turning point, not just for Caitlin's career, but for how she approaches the game going forward. She's no longer the invincible college star. She's a professional who's been humbled by injury, who understands her body's limits, who knows what it feels like to be isolated and helpless. That experience either breaks you or makes you stronger. And from what we saw at this camp, the smile when she touched the basketball, the confidence in her movement, the gratitude toward the trainers who stayed with her through the grind. It's clear which direction she's heading to. USA Basketball left her off the Olympic roster last summer. Right or wrong, that sent a message. You're not there yet. Now, 8 months later, after Rookie of the Year season and a humbling injury recovery, they're bringing her into the fold. They're positioning her as a cornerstone of the next Olympic cycle, betting on the Caitlin Clark, who shows up in 2025. But here's the thing about Caitlin Clark. She doesn't forget. She remembers being cut from junior national teams. She remembers the Olympic snub. She remembers every slight, every doubt, every time someone said she wasn't ready. And she uses it. That chip on her shoulder isn't going anywhere. If anything, the injury added another layer. When you watch her at this USA Basketball camp, smiling because she feels like herself again, don't mistake that for satisfaction. This isn't someone content with where she is. This is someone back at the starting line, ready to prove everyone wrong all over again. The Olympic snub motivated her. The injury humbled her. And now she has both fuels running at the same time. The next few years are going to be fascinating. We're not just watching a talented player recover from injury. We're watching someone who's experienced the full cycle, dominance, rejection, injury, recovery, and is emerging with a clear understanding of who she is and what she's capable of. That's dangerous for opponents, for doubters, for anyone who thought the Caitlin Clark era might be over before it truly began. To USA Basketball sees it. That's why she's at this camp. The WNBA sees it. That's why the new TV deal is worth billions. Unrivaled sees it. That's why they're offering her $1 million. Everyone sees it, except those still clinging to the narrative that she's overhyped or not ready for the big stage. Those people are going to have a very difficult few years ahead because Caitlin Clark just showed us exactly what's coming. She worked through 6 months of isolation and injury to get back to 100%. She didn't take a break. Her trainers didn't take a break. And now she's back on the court, smiling, moving well, feeling like herself again. That isn't the end of a comeback story. That's the beginning of the next chapter. And if you're not paying attention yet, you're already behind.